worked with a lot of global organizations. So by
Okay.
default, I've worked with people from around the world, and I could only be at one location at a time. So I've already dealt with that. It's I'm going to tell you what the advantage from my perspective is for the on-site. As you mentioned, when you're on-site, you could probably do in a week on-site what would take you 3 weeks to do off-site.
Yes.
It's just because you can, for lack of a better word, you can multi-connect.
Yes. That's a good
And
way to put
so,
it.
and
In
and
one
because of
day, you've covered all these bases with
exactly,
quality face-to-face interaction. Yeah.
yeah, so you can multi-connect, and that's something that you can do to a certain extent remotely. So obviously, video conferencing, which is what I've been using for years. Every time I have to work
Right.
with a client offshore, obviously it's going to be video capabilities. So you still get a connection out of the video capability. So from a
Right.
connection perspective, I think it's there.
Hmm.
What you don't get is you don't get the same level of a relationship. You're not going to go have lunch with them or have a coffee with them, which is really where you kind of,
Right.
solidify that tie with them. So you won't have that. And then the other piece you're probably going to not have is, like I said, it's the multi-connect. So it will take you
Right.
longer to get to the same end result. And that end result might be completely different than the end result you would have gotten to were you with them on site for a week, for example.
Yeah. Yeah. I can
So
see that. Yeah.
that's that's for me at the moment, and I've been doing this for years, and I would say for years that's really the main difference. So for
Mhm.
example, if I'm working on a very large change in a global organization, and we have potentially a key area in one side of the globe and a key area in another side of the globe, even though I'll be working on one area only and doing the remote work with the other at a certain point, I will make that trip, and we'll take that
Right.
one
Right.
week and sort of make it sort of a multi-connect blitz, just to kind
Hmm.
of tie it all in together,
Right.
unify
Intense.
it,
Yeah.
and I can leave and I feel like we've actually um, strengthened the connection. We've anchored the changes that we want to put in.
Hmm. Hmm.
Now, for the case that I'm in right now, where I'm still working with global clients, and it's no flying for me at the moment. Um,
Right. I know. It's crazy.
So yeah, it does. You have to change your tactics. You have to go
Right.
about it a different way. So
Right.
there's no one right way to go about it. It's a multifaceted of tactics that you go, and depending on the people, depending on the teams, you'll put in different strategies because you'll know
Yes.
whatever works best for each team, and you have to take into account also the cultures. Different
Right.
countries, even though it's the same organization, that same organization in different cultures, in different countries, sorry,
Right.
has different cultures. And so even though you're with the same company, it's still a bit of a different language. So you need
Right.
to connect with them differently. So I
Very
think in that
interesting.
respect, I'm lucky because I've had a chance to do both. I'm
Right.
I'd love to be able to hear with people that have only done on-site, strictly 100% on-site, and now have
Yes.
off-site. So I
Yes.
be able to get a bit of insight on that.
Yes. I
And also,
think from that point of view, I know you had asked me for some ideas about work-life balance and some practices that have helped me. Um, and I'd be happy to share those if it would be useful to those people who have been mostly on-site people and now are adapting all the way around.
I think it
Um,
would be.
I know one thing that has been really helpful to me, and I know I've been spoiled because I've had this for a long time, is to identify a dedicated space with the equipment that you need to work. So that's a comfortable chair, a quiet location where you won't be interrupted so much, an external monitor if you can, so that you have more workspace on the screen, ergonomically appropriate space for your keyboard, because we sure don't want to turn out to have carpal tunnel or some other issue because of how your office is configured. And I've been through that, and I know other people who have. So it really is quite important not only to help you focus and be productive, but also to be comfortable and healthy in your work. So I think the big thing to keep in mind is that in this continuum of life and work, it's important to consider some routines that will help you make life a little bit more normal than to be constantly making exceptions or going outside of a structure because you happen to be working at home. So I started saying, you know, some of us, if you're like me, I wake up and I kind of check out the news and so forth on my phone, and then you start looking at email, and pretty soon at 7:30 a.m. when you might be taking a walk or having breakfast, all of a sudden you're responding to work stuff. And I think while it's nice to have that flexibility, sometimes it's important to set boundaries for yourself as to how you're going to work at home so that you can create the, you know, the bookends of your day or certain things that you want to abide by so that you're healthy and you get the rest and breaks that you need, and your family gets the attention that you want to give them as well.
Yeah.
And I think one other thing I would say is, in light of that and the fact that there's a lot of balancing going on, I think it's a great idea to plan extra gaps in your schedule. You know, make your lunch longer than an hour, or, you know that you're going to take that time to check in with people in the house, or, you know, but also block your calendar for that stuff so that you're not torn between the things that you feel are personally important and somebody trying to get your attention because they think you're available. And don't
That's a
feel, you know, that's
recommendation.
not a bad thing. You know,
No,
you
it's
can,
not.
it's important. It's important to have that balance so that you can bring your best to all the parts of your life.
That's very good advice. Yeah. I might actually plug in breaks now in my schedule.
There you go. Well, I took a time management course because, of course, for my entire life, I've been needing to figure out how to better manage my time. And, you know, they have the quadrant where you have important and urgent and not important and not urgent. And of course, everything that I had was in the important and urgent category. So then how do you prioritize and all this? Anyway, the advice at the time, this was years ago, was literally block as much open time as booked time in your schedule so
Really?
that you could be flexible for the things that pop up. And of course, to me, that was just unbelievable. I couldn't imagine doing that. But in fact, it's, you either do that or some form of it, or everything is extending, or you're, you know, perpetually late for meetings because one more thing popped up or the phone rang or whatever. So anyway, it's that's something I've struggled with a bit, but I think especially now with so many competing priorities under one roof, I think it's a good
Definitely.
thing to think about how we can do that.
Yeah, especially with families that have younger kids. I think
Right,
there's a lot of benefits of
exactly.
being able to better manage your time so you don't feel guilty by taking
Yes,
time away from the office and time for yourself and your family, which is very important. I agree.
exactly.
So that's from our perspective. Now, from an organization's perspective, what do you think that organizations, based on everything that we're going through, what are some of the things that you feel that they should potentially look at doing differently from a change perspective?
Well, I think the biggest thing is that they need to continuously learn and adapt as an organization as well as leaders, you know. And I think what we've seen is the people who are doing really well in this environment are people who are communicating continuously and adopting new ways of doing that.
Yep,
And I think we need to stay connected as people, and this has reinforced that. So I think organizational focus on communication is really important. The other thing is making those tools available. I think online learning, helping people ramp up their skills and focus on the things that are going to make them successful today and going forward is really important. And the other thing I think is kind of in the people practices space. I've seen a lot of companies and individuals needing to focus on managing stress, adapting to change, helping, juggling priorities. Some of those things that have forced themselves into our lives, even though in many ways they were present before, are even more acute right now. And I think the best practice companies are sensitive to that and helping their people through it.
I agree with you. I feel also that maybe, a lot of the ways that organizations were communicating were through town halls. And
Yes.
a lot of organizations are still doing town halls, but I think that now if you bring it down at the team level, you have the team meetings, but I think senior leaders can also start putting out videos
Yes.
instead of communicating in emails, just putting
Right.
out very short video clips. I think that's a
Mm-hmm.
great way to reach people and get their
Yes.
feedback. So I haven't seen a lot of that up until now, but I hope to see some of that in the future. I think it would make a difference too, especially from a change perspective. If some organizations are going to continue moving forward in some of the transformations they had planned, so everybody kind of halted everything. But some
Right.
organizations now are turning the machines back on and looking at how they can move forward. I think that video is a great way to communicate messages, whereas up until now it's been the standard town hall and email. I think there's an
Right.
opportunity to spin that around a little bit and connect better with everybody.
Well, and I think what's been interesting as we've started to see so many larger meetings happening through Teams and Zoom and being able to see a lot of people on the screen at the same time and, having conventions nationally televised with this kind of thing. There's a lot of options for us. And it doesn't have to be a fancy commercial grade video production. This works. And being able to deliver a message via webcam or a simple casual conversation that happens to be on video rather than in person, I think just, I don't want to say it lowers the standards more, it opens to a more flexible, less constrained approach to
I think it
communicating.
moves it away from being very corporate to being more authentic.
Yes,
I think a
exactly.
lot of people would love to see, instead of seeing the corporate version of their senior leadership, just like I said, the leaders in his polo in his home office, and he
Right.
opens up his camera and he puts out his message out there. I think it's
Yes.
authentic. I think it's true. I think it's a great way to represent the organization, and I think people would relate to that more
Right.
than, as you mentioned, a whole organization planned out video.
Right. I mean, the concept is good. It's great to see a polished production that's well done, but we've seen productions that are well done that are, four people
Hollow.
talking on a conversation and you can hear from them. And it's so funny to imagine, but we have become so accustomed to seeing everybody at home. The newscasters are at home. The weather people are outside in their yard with a monitor next to a car. I mean, it's just so many things are different now that the idea of moving, it's not going to be moving back to the way we were. It's what can we become and how can we do things better, faster, and more helpfully for each other. And if there's any gift that COVID has given us, I think it's that we're doing things we never thought of and finding ways to do things better.
Or
So
things
that's
that
a
we've
good
been
thing.
advert to doing, like
Right.
remote working, and now we're forced
Exactly.
to do it. So it's a forced change, but out of this forced change, I think some really amazing things can come out of it, and organizations are going to have to start opening up to that. and not sit back and wait for it to kind of blow over. And unfortunately, a lot of
Right.
organizations are doing exactly that. They're kind of staying in their status quo, thinking it'll blow over, and then they could kind of go back to the way they were. I think this is a great opportunity, to your point, to do things, maybe not radically different, but
Right.
let's evolve from where we're at right now.
Right.
And we might even come out with things that it's going to be even better than the way we were. I'm sure of that.
Exactly. Exactly. And being open to that. I mean, I guess um, the folks that I've been seeing and working with are really looking forward. They're managing now. They recognize that things have to be done differently. They're seizing the moment and delivering to their employees, and moving forward with their goals. Some groups are having more difficulty than others. People who have to be in a manufacturing facility, or
That's
are
different.
out on
Yeah,
the front lines in so many ways. That is a terribly challenging scenario. But a lot of us can, for those people who can be flexible and who can take advantage of technology and still keep working without a huge amount of challenge, really, except for some of these adjustments. Um, I don't know, the sky's the limit in terms of what we can do to make it better and work.
exactly. And we have to take advantage of this time to do exactly that. So we've just got a few minutes left, Julie. It's been a wonderful speaking with you. But just before we leave, do you have any words of wisdom that you would like to impart on us on change in this new world?
Well, I think you framed out the notion of start, stop, or continue, and that's a nice frame for any time we're thinking about a change, to think about what do we need to do differently, as well as what can we do that works well now and could continue. And I think kind of recapping what we had said, if they aren't doing it already, leaders really need to start being very purposeful about spending time with their teams and individuals, and ensuring there's casual conversation along with the work discussion, because at the end of the day, those relationships are going to continue throughout, not only in this COVID work at home time, but beyond. And we want to
Yeah,
not lose anything from being apart, but take advantage of things like mandatory touch points and project meetings, but also team happy hours or morning huddles or personal conversations over, a virtual environment, so that relationship building can continue. Um, I think we have to stop thinking that communication as we used to do it is effective in this environment. It's just, yes, some things are effective, but we need to really use technology to keep people engaged and do things that we maybe haven't done before in order to advance, and continue to meet our goals. And I guess in general, this is so critical in change management and in leadership communications, is you have to continue to communicate the vision for where the company is going, where the
yeah,
team is going, and especially right now, um, communicate confidence in your ability to achieve the goals. Um, People are thrown off right now. This is difficult. And the more confidence that a leader can instill, that they believe in the people, that, despite whatever challenges they're juggling, is really important. And that's why it's appropriate to continue asking how people are doing, listening to what they need, responding, and helping them feel supported and heard as they have new constraints to getting their work done. Um, I think all those key things are going to help teams prosper, organizations advance, and people be happier and managing in the new normal.
Thank you, Julie, for spending the time with us today and sharing your perspective on change. I think the audience also appreciated all the insights that you had to share with us. So thank you for your time, and let's stay in touch.
It's been great. Good to see you. Thanks for
Good to
inviting
see
me.
you too. My pleasure.
Okay.
Thank you,
All
Julie.
right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.